Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick overview or tutorial on how the shoulders should work in terms of the bends, the rotations, the side bends in the swing to enable someone to hit their iron with the ultimate compression, consistency, and so they've got complete control over the low point and the dynamic loft. Now, we see this misunderstood quite a lot, even from setup. So in terms of setup, we would want a spine line that's very neutral. We definitely don't want to see anything aggressively tilted towards the target in left side bend or in right side bend. We'd want to see a very neutral spine initially. Now, what this does, it allows the shoulders and the thorax to rotate nice and neutrally around the fixed point, around our shirt tag at the back. It doesn't create any crazy tilts or side bends. So the only reason the shoulders have a slight tilt to them is because the right hand or right arm is lower on the golf club than the left arm, okay? So we don't actively try and tilt the shoulders in terms of the setup points, okay? So that's first step number one. We tend to see a lot of players, because of YouTube videos, that tell them to tilt behind it, move low point back, increase pressure into their right foot, which makes it very, very difficult to control low point longer term. So in terms of setup, very, very neutral, just a very subtle right shoulder lower than left, only because the right hand is sat lower on the golf club than the left hand. Now, this is where it starts to get a little complex, because at address, we're set up in forward bend. Now, as soon as we start taking that golf club away, the forward bend of the torso disappears, and that turns into what's called side bend. Okay, and what we tend to find is a number anywhere between sort of 37 and 42 in terms of side bend degrees at the top. Now, what this isn't a move where we're tilting the shoulders directly down at the golf ball. Okay, we see this a lot rehearsed in drills on the range. That's going to do nothing but make the backswing very steep and transition incredibly steep. Okay. What we tend to find is a nice subtle rotation, so you're just tilting around that shoulder plane. Your shoulder line should point outside the golf ball, definitely shouldn't point at the golf ball, but likewise we don't want to see these shoulders very flat, okay? So we want to see about a 40-degree angle to these shoulders. Another key point for us is the position of the right shoulder at the top of the swing. Again, we want to see that right shoulder behind our head. This enables the torso to make a big full backswing rotation. We tend to see a lot of people keep that right shoulder in front of them. It really hinders their rotations. It really hinders the ability to create any power. So what we tend to do is we tend to find like a long club or a long cane, put it behind our neck, okay, and try and make a decent rotational movement here. And as you can see there, my right shoulder's probably disappeared out of shot because it's behind my head, okay. What we don't want to see is a turn where that right shoulder stays in view, okay, because that really cramps up our positions. Now, from this spot, in terms of transition, this is where we see things tend to go a little bit wrong, because people feel the need to raise and lift this lead shoulder as an instinctive move to try and help the golf ball in the air. Now, what this does, this just moves the low point really back. It lacks speed. It keeps pressure on the trail side. So they're going to have a very, very inconsistent strike. What we tend to find is that the shoulder or the lead shoulder, the first movement is actually a little bit down. So it's a little compression into the floor, as opposed to a movement that is straight away into right side bend. So this is called left side bend. We actually stay in left side bend for quite a long time. The left side bend is retained till roughly here, where the shoulders then tend to level out. What we tend to see with a poor ball striker, someone who hits the ball very high and sort of low on the face, is that the right side bend kicks in too early. The left shoulder gets very high, the loft gets into a poor spot, and it's very, very difficult to then deliver the face and the ball where we want it to. The low point's always a bit of an issue. It gets hard work. So the key bit for us here, key takeaways are, in terms of setup, very subtle tilt with the shoulders, okay? We do that only because the right hand is lower on the golf club than the left. We don't actively want to tilt the spine. As we get to the top of our action, we don't want the shoulders tilted down at the golf ball or inside the golf ball, because that will cause injury. That will make it very, very hard work. We want the shoulders just rotating around the spine, okay, so that points just outside the golf ball, nothing too flat at the wall, okay? And then the key move for us is that the first movement out of the top is a little compression of the left arm, okay, or the left shoulder. So that allows the hands to work down, allows that shoulder to stay low, allows us to build up some vertical longer term. This is how we create the compression.